What is cracking, people? New week and pretty much new month. So let's kind of get into it and get excited for some more opportunities. So, 4 hour on EU. Let's start with EU and kind of go from there. So we've still majorly induced. It's still actually holding at the moment. Currently, what I'm kind of expecting is there's two options. So this low we've got here. I kind of want this gone. So what I'm thinking is we're either going to take this low and continue bearish. We've got lots of liquidity below. Or what we're actually going to do is take this low and possibly react up. So the two options are literally take that low and react up or melt off. Now I'm going to go with the option that I like best, which is just to continue to sell, simply because this 4 hour structure, we don't have any. So I don't have anything as an internal break. So all I'm expecting, and what we'll do is we'll make this a little bit more pretty, is kind of something like this. Okay, so I just want to keep selling. If we actually read internally in here, what we've kind of got, we've got this point here I would like to come take and then sell from there. So that's what I'm looking at. Really good liquidity here and go from there. So you'll probably notice I'm doing this video a little bit early. Daylight savings are done in London, so it's an hour earlier now. That means we trade an hour earlier. So an hour now until London Open, and then we kind of go from there. So get excited for that. So, but this is what I want to kind of see for this this week. I don't think this area will hold. Yes, we have got this break with the retest that built here, but I don't think there's enough liquidity to the upside. I think a lot of buyers are sitting in this at the moment. GU is completely different than this, so this may actually have enough juice to kind of drive up and take that high, which is a possibility. So what I'm actually going to do is give us two options. The other option is to come and take this. So these are my two options. The only way we'll know we're coming for this high is basically what it tells us early in the week. But they're my two options, okay? This high makes sense given the daily break. It's a straight range. We have reacted out of the extreme, but this more or less should be a smart money trap. If we actually read it on the hourly, this more or less is retest of that first break. So this necessarily shouldn't hold. So we've come all the way down to the 15-minute point here. So they're the two options. And as you can see, if I jump down to the 15-minute, we've reacted from this point. We've now come up. That's our current 15-minute range. If we now read internally what's going on here, we're just about to take the decisional. So that would be our break here. We've then got take of decisional. And now we need to see what happens. We've got this decisional that we've kind of reacted out of already. But for me, we don't have a medium induced into that. So for today, what I'm expecting for today is basically to come through and take this decisional. I want to take this decisional and then I want to buy off the decisional, or we may find we actually keep selling. But they're the two options. So the problem with the decisional is it doesn't have to create a new range. And given we have good structure internally in here, we can get something like that. So they're the options coming in today, but I'm not expecting this decisional to actually hold. Now, if price does break this high here, I will be happy to buy from this decisional. That'll create enough for me to kind of do so. But at the moment, if price wants to push through here and not come and take this high, I will be selling, and that'll be my draw on liquidity for today. Okay. If we push up, I believe we'll be bullish at least until this extreme. So that'll be the next kind of area we come to. Once we've come to there, I will basically think of what to kind of do next. I've got that as my high extreme. Then I've got my decisional, and then we're at that bottom point there. So if we jump back on the 4 hour, now we've got a couple more drawings. What I will do is we'll actually rearrange this to that. Okay, so they're the two options coming into today. We can hide this and go from there. So this will be on Twitter. It'll also be on Instagram. So if you want to see this as the week goes on, I will leave it on there. But they're the two options for EU coming into the week. Now GU, as you can see, kind of the same situation, but we've already taken this low. Now, the reason this low can hold enough weight to push price back up is if this is a smart money trap, it's now created that already. So this is a major inducement to the downside, but I still don't have an internal break. So it's more just using this as a smart money trap, not as a break of structure at all to the upside, but it's more or less the same option for GU. So if If we mark this out, this is the first option. We come and take this high, but I do want to keep selling until price tells me that it's not the case. We are, from a higher time frame perspective, it makes a lot of sense to actually buy and retrace. Daily extreme, and then EU's got its daily break of structure, so both from a high time frame perspective makes sense, but I'm going to continue with the idea of selling it until it tells me not to. On the 15-minute, well, like I said, we had this break here. We've then got the internal range here, but we've got break, which then created this decisional here with a medium inducement here, like so. Like that. No decisional, nothing to go off of. So today on GU, all I'm looking for is that move. Now we've got area of decisional that sits here, so that'll be what I kind of look at today. We've got internal break and retest that sits quite nicely there, and then this point here should hold. So coming in today, that's what I want to have happen today, and that leads us into the higher time frame idea of what we've got. Now if we look at our 15-minute range, that's technically our bigger range, but I'm going to make it a bit smaller. I'm going to look at for my last structure cycle, which is this one here. So we've got this point here. So what I'm going to do is, if we're going to sell, these are the options that I want to see. So exactly like EU, I'm going to use those 2 points, which is this one here, like that, and like that. Okay, so we want to keep selling because we're in a seller's market. But understand and keep this in the back of your mind that we are at a point on a higher time frame where it actually makes sense to have that retracement. But we should be going to these areas first. So when you're at a bottom of range like this and you have those multiple options, you've got to understand that we still want to trade the higher time frame idea that we can retrace, but sellers are in control. Given we're at a point where we can retrace, we wait for those confirmations on a lower time frame to buy up, and then we can either sell or continue to buy. So you still want to be able to play both sides of the market, but you've got to keep that 4-hour perspective in your head. But ideally, that's what we're looking for coming today. I really do like this 15-minute move today. Really straightforward and simple, I believe, and kind of go from there. I think that makes a lot of sense for us here. Oops, I need to make that visible on the hours. Straightforward and simple, and that's kind of what we're looking for coming into today on those two pairs. Now, we will move on to the next. AU, I just want to keep selling. AU's been really, really obvious to read in my mind. Daily break of structure, 4-hour range, mitigation. We've then created 1 inducement, 2 inducement here with retest. Realistically, the next area of liquidity we want to take on the 4-hour would be this one here, but we're just nowhere near it. Absolutely nowhere near it. If I jump down to a lower time frame and we read a little bit more internally, our 15-minute range has just moved away from where we were. So our 15-minute range now, we've got a really good break here. This actually played out perfectly from the other day. We've got that retest that sits here. We've got 1 point that sits up top, which has more or less actually been mitigated. That's been mitigated to here. Okay. Medium inducement, mitigation. What I'm expecting for today on the 15-minute is for this to be a smart money trap. So ideally, what we want to see is this point not hold, and then just look to trade out of that. So we're looking for this kind of move down here to then buy to here to then sell and just continue with that selling momentum. From a higher time frame perspective on that 4-hour, I'm not seeing a way to actually trade any of this. It's all filled here. This is the last area. We've got break and retest here. So realistically, we're just looking to continue with that selling momentum. And that may look something like this. Okay, so I'm going to keep that very straightforward and simple on AU, but sellers just makes the most sense until we get somewhat of a retracement up to this area where we're in this area. We can look to buy or look to sell, but until then, sells are just the main go. Just understanding that today on the intraday time frame, we can look to buy to sell, but the sell is the higher time frame play. If we jump on the daily time frame, we've got that break of structure here. We've then taken that retest. So break, take of that retest. We could get that retracement now, or on the daily time frame, we can remove all that crap. On the daily time frame, the last decisional area is more or less this move here. That entire move. So we realistically want to be heading into this area, which makes the most sense, and makes the most sense given what's going on in the world as well. Okay, so that's what we're looking at here. It's not going to show up for me. How rude. But yeah, that's what we're kind of looking at for those there. Sorry, I just want this to show. Like that. DXY. The daily still applies. It still makes sense to come up and get this target, which means all the other pairs should keep selling. So if we look, this target is still very, very clean. We've major induced to the downside on the 4 hour. We've then daily broke of structure to the upside. We've then pulled down into this decisional, and we've had a huge reaction off of this with the medium inducement into mitigation. So I would expect us to be coming to that high now. We have actually come into and taken that extreme range high here. So now we need to work out, are we now moving this direction, or are we going to retrace and move through that direction here? So they're the kind of the two options here. Last week's played out perfectly, which is clean. We just haven't completed the move yet. On the 15 minute, like I said, we've come up and take that high. If we read the internal structure on the 15 minute, we've got a really clean break here. We'll mark that out correctly. Really clean break here. Decisionals here. We've got no medium inducement in that. We do have that medium inducement into the decisional. Here, medium inducement here. All I'm looking for is basically that to keep buying. This area we're in here, it makes sense to keep buying. You may find we actually take this here, react out of that extreme area, and then push to the upside really, really cleanly and continue flushing upwards. So really, really clean. And if we read the opposite direction, we've had a small internal break to the downside. That's our decisional. Once we take this low here and we come into this area, we would be expecting a retracement to here, to where we will either go that way or go that way, and that's kind of that 15-minute read. So, but on the 4 hour, I still want to come and take that external high. So, like I said, these will be up on Instagram, up on Twitter, X, premium in the description. We'll kind of go from there. So, any questions, drop them below. You've got the free Telegram as well. I will speak to you guys during the week. Let's have ourselves a good new week, good new month, and let's go from there.